Good morning, Steph. How are you doing? Good morning, everybody. It's fantastic to be here in the city of Greater Dandenong's Civic Centre this morning for day 4 of the Forever Fest. This is amazing. How good was yesterday? I don't know if you joined me yesterday morning for the session I had with the guys at Brick Lane Brewing, where John and the team took me through what they're doing to build a sustainable business. And what a fantastic organisation, balancing profit with people and planet. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? But it takes a bit of a journey. And so one of the things that John and the team were talking about with me yesterday morning as well, afterwards, was what they're doing in energy, which is why I'm here today in the city of Greater Dandenong, because they're doing some stuff to reduce their energy use and to be more energy efficient. And for me on Mars, when I think about it, that's going to be really important, because on Mars, we can't just plug something into the wall and ta-da, there we go. We've got an energy grid just automatically there. We're going to be a very renewable energy focused society. To bring anything to Mars, it's a 7-month journey one way. So bringing fuel is going to be, well, pretty inefficient when it comes to our energy. So we're going to have to rely on what we've got. And solar is going to be a big part of that, but I don't have to rely on having to generate a lot of energy. So I wanted to come here today to meet with Darren Wilson from the city of Greater Dandenong. And Darren's going to take me through some of the stuff they're doing here in Dandenong and what we can do eventually at home as well. But Darren, let me know what's happening here in the city of Greater Dandenong for our energy.
Well, Council's taken a strong position on climate change, that we need to be reducing our greenhouse emissions. So we're trying to really reduce our emissions and our energy use. So there's a range of things we've done. We've first off set a target. So we've identified what we have. So we've been looking at our energy bills over time, and we've said, what can we actually achieve to reduce our energy use? So we've set a target for council for zero net carbon emissions by 2025. Now we've been taking action over many years to reduce our energy use, but we've taken some really strong steps in the last few years. We've just signed in terms of a power purchasing agreement, which is enabling us to use 100% renewable energy for all of our electricity. So that means all of our buildings and our streetlights will all now be powered by renewable energy. Wow. So that's reducing our emissions significantly by about 75%. So that's a really strong initiative. Another thing we've just done in the last couple of years, we've put nearly 600 kilowatts of solar panels on our roofs. Wow. So we've taken, in terms of gone from having a relatively few to having about 600 kilowatts. So that's enough to generate a significant amount of renewables, and we've got targets to increase that again over time.
Gosh, Stu, there's so much that's been happening here with council, and it's really important that our councils and our leaders show us what we need to be doing. And so that sort of leadership from the council here in the city of Greater Dandenong, that's brilliant. What can we do at home and maybe in our businesses? Because it sounds like it's an important thing to do to reduce our energy consumption.
It is, it's critical, and you need to reduce, before you start using renewables, that's fine, we need to be using renewables, but first off, we need to be reducing our energy use in the first place. There's only so many solar panels we can be putting on our roof, so what we need to do is reduce our energy use as much as we can. There's so many things you can do. First off, you don't even need to spend any money. The biggest thing you can do is you can save up to 20% of your energy use just by behaviour change. You think things like in terms of if you're wearing a jumper, rather than turning the temperature, the heater up or down, you just basically go and put a jumper on. So do something like that that can sort of just say, okay, I can feel a little bit more by putting a jumper on. But then door seals, in terms of every household, usually has about a 1 metre squeater space. A hole in the wall is equivalent by the time you look at the windows, the seals and the drafts and things like that. So you can put things around those to seal them up in the first place, which then stops that air just basically escaping through that 1 metre hole. So if you can reduce that down, that is a significant way to reduce energy use.
Some of these tips seem so simple, don't they? On Mars, the average temperature on Mars is -55. So I reckon a scarf might be a good start, but I might need a little bit more to help me stay warm. Yeah. But this harkens back to some of the stuff our grandparents used to do, doesn't it? We don't have to necessarily be high tech with anything. We can take some simple steps, blocking those gaps in our doors and in our windows, and putting on an extra layer or two. But what can we do then if this is great for the basics. What's the next step up from that?
Well, the next step is then looking, if you look at your energy use, and everyone can go online and look at that. We have smart meters now. So both businesses and households have smart meters. That tells you every hour what energy you're using across the day. So if you look at that, you can see how much energy you're using. So if your house or your business is still using a lot of energy at night, but no one should be there, you can then start to say, okay, well, what's using that energy? So then you start to look at things, and you can investigate, you can do an audit, but then you start to choose appliances. So you look at appliances. So when you're choosing a new refrigerator, you're making sure it's one of the more energy efficient ones. If you're choosing new equipment, you're choosing ones that are more efficient. In terms of the government's doing things already, they've changed the lights that we can use. We now can use compact fluorescence or LED lights. You can't buy the old incandescent lights because they use a lot less energy. But it's making sure that we actually change them over. So we're doing that. Then there's a whole range of other things. Do you really need to use your dryer at home? Do you can put your clothes on the clothesline? So it's things like that. There's a whole range of things you can either make by choice or in terms of as you're making decisions to purchase things that use less energy.
And it made me think as well, like what we do at night. Sometimes we have things we leave them turned on all the time, don't we? And how does that, I mean, we think about trying to reduce our energy and buy more energy efficient appliances. And why do we need to be doing this? Like, what's the importance of doing this, Darren?
Well, the direct one is saving money. Because I know I've basically saved about $200 off my energy bill through winter because we used to have the heater running and in terms of at night. So now I turn it off about 10:30 at night and start it back up again at about 7 o'clock in the morning. So that simple action there has saved me about $200 in my own house over the winter months. So there's things you can do that way.
That's amazing. We could all do it. An extra $200 is a very handy thing to have. That's fantastic. And I think we've got a lot of opportunities here in our homes to do that sort of stuff. What about our businesses? What sort of things could apply, maybe if any businesses in the city of Greater Dandenong are watching this morning?
Well, for businesses, again, it's looking at, in the first place, lighting. So it's changing over to energy efficient lighting. And the state government have programs in place where you can have these lights changed over at no cost to you. So the Victorian Energy Renewable targets. So there's some grants available for businesses to do that. So there's that. There's also then again looking. So light is always one because lights are on for a long period, 8 hours or more a day. So they're easy ways to save money. And the payback is usually less than 6 months. It just depends on the light type. So some will be longer. Then you're looking simple things again. Air compressors. Air compressors are on in a business constantly. And if there's always leaks, and so there's one. If you can seal those leaks, it means the air compressor pump isn't having to work all the time. So there's a whole range of ways you'd be saving money there. Also the processes. There's just in this space talking to other businesses and things that when they start to think about things, once they start on that journey, making some small discoveries in the first place, they then realize that they can make a lot more savings. Once they've started to realize that there is potential out there to make savings in either energy, but it's also materials and waste and things like that. Once they start on that journey, they then realize that there's so many other ways within their business they can really save themselves money, but become more sustainable as well.
That's fantastic. So within our businesses, we can do some things that can reduce our costs over time as well, which is fantastic because a lot of businesses really have to think about their profit. But here's another way that, like yesterday, we can think about the planet at the same time. What a fantastic opportunity. And I love your point as well about paying attention to your bills, like to really track stuff at night and during the day.
Well, it's really interesting when you do look at your bills in terms of, we've looked at some sites here at council where we've realised that lights have been on unnecessarily. And so it's just there've been timers on there, but the timers, for whatever reason, have been overridden. And so then we've gone back and realised. So it's only by paying attention to look at your bills that you can. One thing I did want to point out for businesses is in terms of council has a program in place called Environmental Upgrade Agreements. And so...
Hi, Mum.
You never know who you get here. So that's people you meet. So it's there's environmental upgrade agreements, which is about in terms of it's through a mechanism to provide financing for businesses to be able to put energy efficiency as well as water and other upgrades to their businesses at it can be spread out over 10 years, the cost. And so rather than having to find that upfront capital, they can there's financing available for it. It's just one of the mechanisms. There's other ways, but it's just one way council is supporting businesses. So we've had one business here has put spent $650,000 to put 250 kilowatt solar panels on their system, on their roof. And another 3 or 4 other businesses have put about 100 kilowatt solar systems on their roofs.
That's amazing. And to know that council is supporting that with that longer term payment. So, you know, it doesn't have to be all upfront like
Yes.
that, which for most businesses, that capital outlay, that can be a difficult thing to do. So it's good to know there are grants out there. So any businesses watching today, have a look and see online what grants maybe that the City of Greater Dandenong have available, and maybe even the state government and federal government here in Australia, because there's a big renewables program that we can maybe tap into. And for me, when it comes to trying to develop, whether it's a business on Mars or life on Mars, I mean, renewables, yeah, they're going to be a part of it. But I think your point, Darren, really important about watching what we're using.
In the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And maintenance. You raised a really good point there about keeping an eye on our machinery at our business, but what about our homes too?
Yes, in terms of just making sure your car is running efficiently in the first place, but it's just making sure that your heating systems are working properly to make sure to reduce your energy use. Those ways there. So there's a lot of ways you it's the general maintenance is to make sure things are working efficiently. That's certainly one way there. You're saving money. But I will, with the business as well, one of the best things about the environmental upgrade agreements is as well, you can be saving, it's cash flow positive. So businesses, it's actually, you're paying less upfront than your electricity bills will be in the first place. So it's a real incentive. It's a win-win in terms of you can get this energy, the solar panels on there to generate the energy, so it's renewable. And then it's also being cash flow positive for the business.
That's fantastic. Yeah. We need to make sure we we'll have some links in some of the material that's in the action kit from today's session for day 4 for the Forever Fest, for businesses who are interested in looking at how they can tap into these sorts of grant programs here in the City of Greater Dandenong. There could be some real opportunities now to become much more energy efficient and put some new renewables in place in your business. That's brilliant. Thanks so much for those tips, Darren. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
And for those of us here on Earth, City of Greater Dandenong, or hopefully heading to Mars, what we have for the future is something which is a renewable future. And that's a future thought, but we have here today the chance to be much more energy efficient. And I think that starts with some of these great tips that Darren's given to us this morning around just being aware, first of all. Maybe if we have a look at our bills. I don't know if you look at your bill when you have a chance today, grab your bill for your business or for your home, and you'll see a little graph on that bill that compares your use of energy compared to another household of a similar size. And that might give you an indication that whether you're using the right amount of energy, or maybe you need to have a look at it. Maybe your heating's on a bit long, or lights are on in a room that you're not in. Some of these simple tips that Darren's taught me today, I'll be taking with me to Mars. Like I'll be definitely putting my scarf on if it's a bit chilly, a bit nippy out there. But I'll also be doing things such as maintaining our equipment on Mars, because we're not going to be able to just buy a whole lot of new stuff all the time. We'll have to make sure it works really efficiently. And so there we go. We've got some very simple energy efficient tips, as well as being able to upgrade to more energy efficient equipment over time. And today, there we go. We've been looking at energy, and I know you'll hear a bit today from some of the other speakers on how to be more energy efficient and save some money there. Tomorrow, we're going to be stepping to the great outdoors. I hope you join me for day 5, where I'll be chatting to the team at Alex Wilkie Nature Reserve. We'll be looking at biodiversity and how we can look after the planet from a different perspective. See you then.